Happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope you guys are having a good middle of the week. We've got lots of stuff going on. I have, like I mentioned on Monday, got some exciting news coming up. You guys will be hearing about soon. But today I want to do something that I don't think we've ever done before. This is going to be a demo, but it's going to be all about your collets in your routers. Now I'm using my 611s here, but this really is applicable for just about any router. So I know that there's a lot of brand new people out there, and you might not have any idea of how these things actually work from a mechanical standpoint. So I'm going to, so it might be kind of redundant for you, some of you guys, that this is just, seems really basic, but there's a lot of people that are brand new with a router in their hand. So I want to kind of go over the mechanics of how it actually works. Obviously, it's an electric motor, and it runs, these are variable speed. When I'm cutting signs, I run them full speed. But in regards to what holds the router bit in, this is called a collet, and this particular one, this part right here that's split is the collet. This is the collet nut. Now in this particular router, they are joined together. They're kind of locked in together. This spins independently of the nut. Again, I know this is really basic for some of you guys, but what actually holds the router bit in when you put your router bit in, this is my 90 degree, when you put that router bit in, what actually tightens it up? What holds it in? I'm going to go over that. So this is your router. This is what we call the armature, or this could be considered called the throat, where the router bit actually goes in. So the nut, now if you look at this collet, and I don't know if you can see it, but this is tapered. It's skinnier here, it's a less diameter here. Sideways. Not quite that far.
There you go.
So this has a taper to it, and this taper matches the taper on the inside of the armature, or the throat. So what happens is when you put this in and you tighten this down, you've got your shaft lock here. When you tighten that down, what happens is the collet nut forces the collet down in there, and those two things that are tapered match, and then as that tightens up, the split collet actually compresses, and that's what tightens your nut in place. And so if I was to put my wrench on there, I'm just doing it finger tight. This right now is tight, but you need to do it with a wrench. So that's what actually tightens up on the router bit. And I don't know that we've ever actually talked about that before. This has got an extra locking mechanism to it, so you actually have to loosen it and then loosen it again to pop that thing loose. But that's what actually causes the router bit to stay in place, is that collet being compressed down in that taper, and that's what causes it to work. So anyway, that's just a basic understanding of how a collet in the armature works. So now what I want to talk about is, and I don't know if you can see this, but this armature down in there is really cruddy. It's really dirty. You need to keep that clean and lubricated. So I was talking about a month, it's been two or 3 months ago, I was talking with a gentleman that I came across. His name is Ron Reed, and he has a company up in Colorado that's called Precise Bits. He sent me an actual cleaner / lubricant for just this, for your collet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate how to actually clean that out. Now, first things first, the reason I've got two of them, both routers here, see the difference between those two? See how this is all clean? That's got some crud in it. So what I suggest to do every once in a while, you want to blow that thing out, okay? And you can blow it out in here too. I'm not going to right now because I'm going to clean it a different way. So if you see, sawdust piling up in there, definitely blow that thing out on a regular basis. So that's all I really wanted to show with this one. Oh, by the way, my router is unplugged at the moment, and that's the way you want to do this for now. So here's what we're going to do. This is a step-by-step instructions. I've done this on a couple routers, so I know how it works, but these are really cool step-by-step instructions. So this is a lubricant and a cleaner at the same time. Now, one thing that it does say in here is this stuff is really it's harmful Put this back?
Put it back. I'm zooming in on it.
Oh, this stuff is, you don't want to swallow this stuff. It's toxic, if not fatal, if you decide to drink it. So don't do that. I'm just trying to cover all the bases here. But this is really good step-by-step instructions. But here's what we're going to do. So I'm going to move this stuff out of the way. Now, it says in the instructions, and it comes, if you buy the little kit thing, you get little Q-tips, but you can get Q-tips. So this thing is pretty much ready to go. It doesn't look like it's in really bad shape. It's pretty clean here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clean in here. So what I'm going to do, it says that you want to run this at about 10,000 RPM. Now this is a variable speed, and I think top speed is like, what is it, 30,000, 27,000. So I'm going to put it at about, I don't know, about 2.5 or 3, guessing that that's somewhere around 10,000. I'm going to plug it in. Always when you plug it in, assume it's on. So grab a hold of it and don't be shocked if it turns on. That's the way I always plug in my tools. So it's off. So what we're going to do is we are going to take this Q-tip and we're going to put about 4 or 5 drops.
Hold it. If you're going to hold it, want me to zoom in?
Yeah.
Hold it still. You're bouncing all over.
Okay. We're going to put about 4 or 5 drops. I got a little on my pad there. That's more than plenty. And it says you only need 4 or 5 drops. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it on, and then I'm going to feed this into the end and kind of clean out that bore.
Sorry, I'm choking.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. Look at that. Pretty nasty. Now I'm gonna put the dry end in. Now I'm going to do it one more time. It says if it comes out really bad that you want to do it more than once. So I'm going to do it, I'm going to use another one, do the same process, just put probably not quite as much on there. I'm going to do the same process, see how it comes out. Much better. Oh, broke off my Q-tip. That's all right. Now that's pretty clean. Now you know, and what happens is it says that after this stuff dries, it actually put a protective coating on there. I wanted to take off the extra that was on there. That's what the instructions say. But as that stuff dries, it kind of coats that so that it makes sure that this stays nice and lubricated. Now, let me give you a couple warnings.
Can you see the inside of it?
Yeah. I don't know if it'll make a difference.
Yeah, it does.
Does it look shiny in there now?
Hopefully I can see, yeah.
So, Oh yeah, it looks a lot cleaner to me. So a couple warnings. This is an electric motor. If you got hair, anything that could get caught in there, just be super careful. It's dangerous, but if you do it right, you know, it just takes common sense. So just be really careful. There is actually, in the instructions, there's actually a warning. Let me read it to you. It kind of came apart on me, but it says, caution, do not wrap a paper towel around your finger and stick it into the rotating spindle bore. Sooner or later, you're going to wish you had that finger, and you'll wonder why you did something so foolish. So, yeah, sooner or later, you're going to wish you still had that finger. So it says that right on the instructions. So don't do anything silly like that. But anyway, this is just, I think this is really good maintenance that, I actually, until I talked to this guy, I very seldom, I blew these out with air, but I hardly ever like put lubricant in there unless there was an issue. And then I'd have to figure out what the issue was. So I think this is just a regular thing you ought to do. He actually recommends once a week. I don't know, once a week is maybe a little overkill, but I think once a month, if you're carving a lot of signs, I don't think once a month is a bad idea. And to be honest, you might be able to use something other than this, but you know, this little bottle is probably going to last me the rest of my life, even if I did it once a week, because it just doesn't take that much to do. So this is just kind of a heads up, and you want to check that collet on a regular basis. Make sure it's not getting caked up with stuff, because if it is, a couple different things, your router bit could get stuck in there. Inside of here, so clean that out. Now I also recommend using a little bottle brush if you have a little brass, or even it could be a fiber bottle brush. Clean that thing out on a regular basis. Just don't let it go so long that it gets caked up with stuff. If you're using hardwoods, stuff that's got a lot of sap, you're going to need to do it more often. Most of the stuff that I carve is all dry, so I don't need to do it as often. If you ever, here's a trick that Dad taught me years and years ago. If you ever, let's say for instance, this is just an extra tip, and I just tightened that thing up. Let me put that router bit in there. Let's say for instance, and this, now the other thing is, some routers, some older routers, let me unplug that while I got that. I should have unplugged that before I started messing with that. Some older routers, the nut is completely separate from the collet. So when you take that nut off, sometimes those collets will just fall out. Sometimes they'll be stuck in there, and you'll have to kind of gently tap them. If you do, and let's say for instance I just loosened my nut, but this thing is stuck and it doesn't want to come out. Here's what you do. Very carefully, you just tap on the shaft of that bit, because what's happened is it just kind of cramped in there and it needs to be loosened up. With this nut and collet combination like that, that won't happen. But if you have a separate collet, and I don't have any routers in front of me, but if you take this nut off and that collet is separate and not attached to the nut, that may stick in there like that. So you can tap gently on the edge. Do not tap out here, you'll ruin your router bit. You can tap gently on the shaft and it will pop loose. The same goes for the collet. If this nut was off and that collet was stuck in there, you could very carefully, you want to cover those threads, very carefully tap on the edge of that collet and it should pop right out. Just some tricks that we've kind of learned over the years. That's a machinist thing that Dad taught me back when I was a kid. So I'm sure there's stuff that I didn't cover here, but I will leave a link if you want some of this. I think it's, I don't know, 12 or 13 bucks a bottle when I went to the website and looked. However, you may have to buy it through a distributor. Ron Reed is the owner of the company. He's the guy I talked to on the phone for about a half hour. This guy's knowledge about router bits and cutters and collets is just phenomenal. I think he's forgotten more than I ever learned. The guy is just an intellect when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, but he's a really, really good guy. We had a great conversation. Anyhow, I'll leave a link to this in the description below, but it's Precision Bits. If you want to just go off of that, I think it's precisebits.com. That's where it is. And this is under Collet Care, I think, or something like that. But he makes all different kinds of router bits and stuff. I think he sells just through distributors, sells large volumes through distributors. Anyway. There's a phone number on there. Call him, whatever you want. Tell him that I sent you. Anyway, I think that's about it, guys. It's just something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I just haven't got around to it, but I think it's important. You know, maintenance on your tools is super important to not only have them running well, but for safety factors as well. So just, if you decide to buy some of this stuff, the instructions, go step by step on the instructions, but it's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory, just common sense kind of thing. Anyway, that's it, guys. Just a short one today. So I hope you guys are all doing well. If you haven't subscribed yet, we'd love for you to subscribe and click that little bell icon so you get notified when we do our videos 3 times a week. And I'm on Instagram every day, Make a Wood Sign. And we've got more stuff coming up, some interesting projects coming up, and lots of different things going on. So thanks for watching, guys. We love you. If you have any questions, email me directly, eric@makeawoodsign.com. I'm happy to help however I can. Love you guys. Have a great one. Bye-bye.